So it's officially official that we have our defensive coordinator in Anthony Weaver. So now I'm going to try to figure out what defensive style we're going to be running and also address a few things that comes with Anthony Weaver. What is up, Finn fans? Saturday, the Miami Dolphins went out and they got themselves a defensive coordinator and assistant head coach and defensive line coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Anthony Weaver. Now, the biggest question a lot of people want to know is what style of defense are we going to be running under Anthony Weaver? And I'm going to kind of break it down for you from his time with the Texans, his time as a player, his time with the Ravens, all that stuff, to see if we can come up with some type of idea of what style of defense the Miami Dolphins will be running in 2024. I'm also going to kind of address a few things. I'll probably start off with that when it comes to Anthony Weaver, because there's always the naysayers, there's always the pessimists, there's always the half-empty Debbie Downers, that when things happen that maybe a majority of the fan base, like they're the guys like in Major League that hate every minute of it.
What a shot! 3 more outs. We go to the series.
So what? They'll blow in the ninth.
So the first thing I always hear is, why did the Ravens pass on him twice? If he is such a good defensive coordinator, why did the Ravens pass on him twice? Why did McDonald move out? And instead of giving it to him, they gave it to the defensive backs coach. Why is that? He must really suck if they didn't want to make him a defensive coordinator. That's a lot of assuming. Do you know why? Now, your assessment to the people who say that is because he sucks. That's why. And you know that for a fact, right? Maybe there was other things. Maybe he already determined he wanted to play for the Dolphins, coach for the Dolphins. Maybe the Dolphins were going to give him more money than the Ravens were. Maybe he wanted to branch out. Maybe he wanted to do something different. Maybe something. It's not always just, oh, he sucks. It's and then the other thing, and this is going to coincide with where I'm going to start talking about Anthony Weaver and his defensive style. He was horrible Houston Texans defensive coordinator, so he's going to suck as a defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Go look at the Kansas City Chiefs, who have the best defense in the NFL right now, if not one of the best defenses in the NFL. Their defensive coordinator sucked as a head coach. He was not good. Yet here he is, coming out doing his thing. Here, it's equivalent to saying that Brian Flores sucked as a head coach in 2019. It's the equivalence of saying that. Because go look at the 2020 Houston Texans defense, and they had J.J. Watt, and that was it. And that man had 5 sacks. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that Anthony Weaver is going to be the best defense coordinator. We're going to have a number 1 defense and da-da-da-da. But to come to such conclusions off of things that people do not know and are just assuming is hysterical to me. Like, you can't just let things play out. Sky's falling. We got Anthony Weaver. I wanted Vrabel, but we got Weaver. I wanted Frazier, but we got Weaver. I wanted this guy, but we got Weaver. Weaver sucks. Look at the, let it play out. Gosh. But anyway, get to Anthony Weaver. So yes, he was the Houston Texans defensive coordinator in 2020. He was 27th in points. The defense was not good. But again, like I stated, that team was not good. That was the last time Deshaun Watson played for the Houston Texans. And a lot of people were like, he was the bright spot. This was also the bright spot. The team was decimated. They traded all of their picks away. They tried to get, they got Laramie Tunsil. It was just a hot mess express that caused a lot of people to get fired. But to look at that defense, ran a very aggressive base 3-4 with a high rate of single high safety. So it was a very aggressive defense, blitzed 36% of the time, which was 7th in the NFL. Now, kind of looking at that style of defense, again, 3-4, single high, had, a lot of men in the box, was blitzing. might have played that way because of how bad they were and how they were trying to, kind of cover up a lot of the shortcomings on that defense. And in that defense on 2020, it was a lot of shifting from 4-3 to 3-4, trying to stop the run because all they had was J.J. Watt. So, but the thing I want you to kind of remember when it comes to that Houston Texans is that aggressive base 3-4, right? And the blitzing of 36%, 7th in the NFL, because that's something that will continue. Now, as a player, Anthony Weaver was a defensive end. He was 4 years with the Baltimore Ravens with Rex Ryan, who was a defensive line coach at the time, then became a defensive coordinator. And Rex Ryan's style is very blitz-heavy tendencies. And then in 2012, Anthony Weaver became an assistant head coach. An assistant defensive line coach for the New York Jets when Rex Ryan was there. So again, he is picking up this. This is his first introduction into coaching, and it's under Rex Ryan, who loves to blitz, that aggressiveness, that hard nose, I'm going to smash your face into the ground style football. Very, very aggressive. Then again, time goes on, he goes to Houston, then he comes back to Baltimore in 2020. He worked with Wink Martindale, who again loved him some blitzing. And then in 2022 to 2023, so the next 3 years, he was under McDonald. I don't know, I couldn't get that out. He was under McDonald. Now, McDonald blitzed. I'm not going to say he didn't blitz, but McDonald was more about post-snap movements than he was about blitzing. So you look at what Weaver did in Houston, and then you kind of look at what he was doing before he got to Houston with Rex Ryan, learning a lot of the blitzing, aggressive blitzing style 3-4 defense. But under McDonald, it was more of a post-snap read system. And what I mean by that is they would do a too high simulated snap, right? But then they would have the second and third levels send the pressure. They would have the first level drop back into coverage. So a lot of times you'll see that and it messes with the offensive line, where you'll have your outside linebacker look like he's going to blitz. He'll drop back, and then they'll have the slot corner blitz. Or they'll have the safety come down, play in the box, have the defensive tackle drop back into coverage, have one of the middle linebackers blitz. It's that post-snap movement that would mess with them. So they'd still send 4, but it's the post-snap movement that McDonald would do that would mess with them. Now, with the Baltimore Ravens in those 3 years, in 2022, 2023, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. The Ravens blitzed 21.3% of the time, which was only 21st in the NFL, but they were 8th in pressure and they were 3rd in sacks. So that movement, that style of defense really did bode well for the Ravens' success and definitely messed with opposing quarterbacks and opposing offenses. Now, he is a big proprietor of stopping the run. Now, there's this quote from him to the Baltimore Ravens website. And he said, "We are determined and impassionate to go out there and make teams one-dimensional and be tough and physical at the line of scrimmage. Get those guys on the second level swarming and knocking players down, because you want to make the team one-dimensional and know that you're not going to come here and push us around and try to bully us. We're the bullies. You better put the ball in the air." And how many times last season were we constantly like, we got to run the ball and you got to stop the run. And we were good at stopping the run, but we weren't that. A lot of people equated us to a finesse team. And what he just said in the hard-nosed style of football, putting them in the ground and making the hits, and he's bringing in, it seems like, a different atmosphere and a different thought process as the new defensive coordinator. Now, when it comes to player personnel and kind of who's going to thrive, your corners and your safeties are probably going to thrive. Now, obviously, he's a defensive line coach, so our outside linebackers and front and all that stuff are going to do well. But there's something that was interesting, right? Now, we have 2 of the best corners. Well, I don't know if X is going to still be with the team, but we have 2 of the best press corners in the NFL, and Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. But in the zone scheme, Vic Fangio only pressed the outside corners, aka Ramsey and X, 4% of the time. On the flip side, which is second lowest in the NFL, on the flip side, the Baltimore Ravens ran the same type of concept of that zone defense. They had their outside corners pressing 28% of the time, which is third most in the NFL. So there's a huge difference. Now, again, is he going to take everything McDonald taught him and bring it over to Miami? I think he'll bring a lot of everything from Rex Ryan to Wink Martindale to McDonald. But you see a big difference. With the 1 year with Fangio, and again, I'm not knocking Fangio, this is just I'm telling you what happened. 4% of the time we were, pressing the outside corners, which we saw we got burned a lot, especially with the slants over the middle, especially if it's like third and short. Whereas the Baltimore Ravens last year, 28% of the time, third most in the NFL. Another person who's really going to thrive, and we thought he was going to thrive under Vic Fangio, is Javon Holland. Because if you look at Hamilton, who is a Pro Bowler, All-Pro for the Baltimore Ravens, their safety, he was all over the place. He was playing safety. He would come down and be in the slot. He would come down and be in linebacker. That man roamed all over the defense. And when Brian Flores was still our head coach and he was able to move Javon Holland where he needed to, that's where the kid was doing great and he was thriving, even with Boyer, where he was moving him around. Whereas Fangio, obviously, got hurt, so he couldn't move him as much as he wanted to. He kind of kept him more stagnant and listen, you're going to be playing that too high safety role and middle of the box, and I need you to play both the run and the pass and all that stuff. Whereas what McDonald did with the Ravens, they had Hamilton roaming the defense all over. You didn't know where Hamilton is, and that might be something you're going to see with Javon Holland. Oh, Javon's in the slot. Oh, he's playing middle linebacker. Oh, he's especially, you play in those teams like the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, where you need a Javon Holland to roam that center of the field because of the quarterback that has that mobility. So again, to sum up before I get into the next part, this defense looks like it's going to be more aggressive than it was last year. This defense looks like it's going to blitz more. It's going to have different types of rotation, post-snap reads, post-snap motions, really messing with the opposing quarterbacks. It's going to use our corners to their advantage, and same with the safeties. Also, him being a former defensive end and a defensive line coach, he's going to know how to get the best out of his defensive line. Sealer, maybe Wilkins comes back, I don't know. And then when Phillips and Chubb eventually come back. Now, the big question that I get a lot when it comes to Anthony Weaver is he going to bring somebody over? Is he going to bring over Patrick Queen? Is he going to bring someone like that over? Now, the Miami Dolphins, it's talked about ad nauseum that they're negative $51 million in cap space. I already made a video where they, in 5-6 moves, can be plus $16 million in cap space. And with more restructuring and more moves left and right, they can possibly get up to about $36 million in cap space and do whatever they want to do. So, like Chris Greer said, which he said the same thing about the offensive line, and we all saw how that panned out. But I have more faith in Brandon Shore that he knows what to do money-wise, and obviously we're pretty close. You need to kind of keep this team together and add the players, especially on the offensive line. I'm not too worried about money. But that being said, the thought process of Patrick Queen, he might be out of our budget when it comes to that whole situation, money-wise. But there's players that are on the Ravens that are free agents that could be possibilities. Now, I'm going to name somebody, and again, I'll go more into detail on free agent target video that will come out soon, maybe in a week or two. But like Jadeveon Clowney, right? He was with the Ravens. He was with Weaver, kind of has that idea. He's not going to command a lot of money. And Jadeveon Clowney can come in. How many times did we try to get Jadeveon Clowney to come to Miami? He can come in and kind of be that stopgap until Phillips comes back, because Phillips just had the Achilles. He's going to be back sooner than Chubb is with the ACL, but he could be that stopgap, and he's going to be cheaper. Also, Geno Stone, the safety for the Baltimore Ravens. Again, I'm not going to go into cap numbers and all that stuff, but that could be a nice 1-2 punch with Javon Holland, who had 7 interceptions. So these are things to think about. Again, I'm going to have a whole video with free agent targets, but I'm excited to see what Anthony Weaver's going to do. I'm excited to see what he's going to install. This is what before we get out of here, this is what Mike McDaniel had to say about picking up Anthony Weaver. He says, I'm excited to add Anthony to our staff, not only for what he will bring to the Dolphins as a teacher and a coach, but even more so, he is the leader of men. He has a proven resume of success built on his professional investment in his players. More importantly, he shares our belief that player development is the cornerstone to both the team and sustaining excellence. Through conversations with him and those who have worked with him, it's become clear that we have aligned values in football philosophies and coaching. Now, people think that he took shots at Vic Fangio in that quote. I don't think so. But they worked together, 2014 with the Browns, so they do have some type of understanding and, aligned values in football. So it's going to be interesting. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the defensive style that I think Anthony Weaver is going to bring? What do you think about Ramsey and possibly Cam Smith and Javon Holland kind of thriving in this defense? And would you be interested in bringing Jadeveon Clowney and Geno Stone over? Because they won't demand high money, and they'll help. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.